Hey everyone, welcome back to the Coop with Meyer Hatchery, where we talk all things poultry in hopes of educating chicken keepers and inspiring future flock owners. I'm Tessa,
And I'm Linda.
and today we're going to be talking about our second Meyer Hatchery book of the month, First Time Chicken Keeping by Andy Schneider. Before we get started, did you know that you can save $5 off your next Meyer Hatchery purchase by entering the coupon code THECOOP at checkout? Give it a try. Linda, thank you so much for joining me today. Now, for those of you who don't know, Linda is one of our outstanding customer service team members. You've probably talked to her before. She picked up this book on a recommendation from another one of my favorite team members, Carol, and she couldn't put it down.
Yes, Tessa, thank you so much for having me. And I totally agree with that. It was an excellent book, and I was glad she recommended it.
You know, I've got to say, when I saw her name next to this recommendation for this first time chicken keeping book, and then saw you next to it, I thought, this one must be incredible for these people with so much experience to recommend it.
Well, it's a book I wish I would have had when I first got my chicks. It probably would have saved me a lot of losses and given me some things to think about before I got the chicks. Each spring, we have a lot of new chicken keepers ordering chicks and getting started on their chicken journeys. This would be a great book to read now before you get the chicks. So February is the perfect month for the book.
You know, you're right. This time of year in February, a lot of our chores go to the wayside, and it's a time of hope and it's a time of planning. So February is the perfect month. My favorite thing about Andy's book is that it's comprehensive without being too overwhelming. The language is easy to understand, it's easy to read, and it covers almost every topic you need to be familiar with as a new or experienced chicken keeper.
I think you said that perfectly. One of the things I liked is throughout the book, there are boxes with chicken keeping tips. As a former dog groomer, one that stood out to me was about trimming the rooster toenails and spurs using dog or cat nail trimmers, an emery board, or a rotary grinder.
You know, I agree with you. I feel like we're just totally on the same page here. I know I have my own dog who is in all of my videos, you know, and sometimes when you get those like darker toenails where you can't see things, it kind of makes it scary. And that transfers over into the birds. Going from trimming my pet's toenails to trimming my flock's nails and beaks was it's really scary the first time. It's like a completely different animal. So you're right, that is a really great part of the book. I think
Mhm.
my favorite part of the book is how it walks you through preparing for your first chicks. So getting ready to be a first time chicken owner isn't just as simple as getting online, placing your order, and then waiting for them to arrive. Do you have family pets? Do you have kids? What about your property itself? I didn't figure out until 2 years in that I had some pokeberry growing wildly out in my woods and the chickens were eating it. I would go into the coop and I'd see these red piles and I thought, oh my gosh, my birds. And those kind of things you really need to think about. In large amounts, those pokeberries could have had negative effects. First time chicken keeping gets you prepared in more ways than just having the brooder set up and a coop on the lawn.
It sure does. And speaking of brooding, it really is the most important thing need to know how to do before your chicks arrive. You'll need to know how to raise them into chickens and keep them alive and well, or you'll get frustrated, waste time, money, and end up without any eggs or meat to show for it. The brooding section covers what a brooder needs to consist of, whether it's a commercial brooder or one you make at home. It deals with temperature, space, feeders, and waterers. As part of the art of brooding, information is given on what to watch for and distress sounds to listen for in order to make sure your chicks are content and comfortable.
You know, it also covers important topics like predators and coop building. So I know those two don't necessarily seem like they go hand in hand, but if your coop isn't strong enough to keep the predators out, the right kind of predators in your area, it won't matter how well you brood your chicks or what you feed them. First time chicken keeping does a great job laying out the basics of both. So, what did you think about that portion of the book?
To me, These go hand in hand and can seem daunting. The book did a great job of covering the basics of what you need to know to protect your flock from weather and predators. The coop building section includes both stationary and movable coops, parts of a coop maintenance and placement. The predator section includes predator proofing, the most common predators and what the tracks for each look like. This helps because if you do have a predator problem, knowing which predator is after your birds is helpful to try to remedy it.
Exactly. The rough and tumble part of chicken keeping isn't what we like to think about. I know I don't, at least, but it's important and key to having a successful experience with chickens. Something else that I thought was great about this book is that it even gives you some of the most popular or common breeds for backyard flocks, and it highlights their strengths. That can really assist someone when they're choosing a flock that's going to be handled by kids. Or if you're starting an egg laying business, you need to know which hens are going to give you the most bang for your buck.
That's in the Honology section, and it provides a good base of information on the behaviors of hens and roosters, the formation of an egg, and basic chicken anatomy. The section includes nicely detailed illustrations. It continues with common breeds and attributes of each to help you decide which might be the best fit.
Something else that stood out to me in this book is the section on incubation. I have to be honest, when I got my first flock of chickens, it would have never occurred to me that years later I would be knee deep in incubators, candlers, turners, hatching eggs. If I'd have known about this process up front, I wonder how differently my first hatch would have gone if I had been prepared.
Absolutely. Incubation is one of my favorite topics. I find this to be kind of addictive.
Me
There
too.
could there could be worse things, right?
Yep.
So you had the chicks, they were fuzzy and adorable, you made it through the brooding them, then you got past the awkward teenage phase, and now you're getting eggs. Lots of eggs.
Yes.
Does this mean it's time to think about incubating some of them? If you have a rooster or a rooster and a broody hen, it might be fun to do it again, right?
Yes.
The chapter covers incubation with the enthusiasm I think it deserves. Here's a quote from the book that I loved. A week does not pass without one of us telling someone about the amazing experience of incubating and hatching eggs. We've hatched out chicks many times, and the 25th time is just as exciting as the first. It only takes 21 days for a chick to hatch. It's a great project for young and old alike. That's on page 54, and I absolutely love that quote and agree with it. I don't know if I'm up to hatching 25 times yet, but I can tell you my kids and I love it. My kids range in age from 25 to 34. The great nieces and nephews love it. It doesn't matter if they're seeing movement in the egg while we candle or if they're meeting the chicks for the first time. It's fun and exciting each time. And seeing chicks poke their little heads out from under the wing of a brooding mom, who can resist that?
Oh, my heart.
The book includes some pros and cons of incubating versus using a broody hen and features you might want to have when you buy an incubator, as well as a description of the hatching process with pictures.
Linda, hatching is one of the most precious times here at the farm or on the homestead, for those exact reasons. Grandmas, aunts, uncles, friends, kids, everyone loves it. And it is so magical to bring a new baby into the world right here on your farm. So I'm going to say that this book is the gateway to being a crazy chicken person. um,
Could be.
yeah. And honestly, even as a seasoned chicken keeper, like both Linda and I, we have this book on our shelves for reference. It's not just for first-time chicken keepers.
Mhm.
You can always learn something new from books. Books are amazing, and we love books here at Meyer Hatchery, and we know that you do too. Linda, thank you for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to talk with someone who loves birds just as much as I do.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And remember, if you're going to purchase the book of the month, don't forget to use code BOTM23 at checkout and receive the book of the month at a 20% discount.
That's awesome. And with that, we thank you for listening to The Coop. Be sure to subscribe. And if you'd be so kind, drop us a review. Have a poultry related question or topic you'd like us to cover? we want to hear from you. Send us an email to podcast@meyerhatchery.com.